Welcome back to Zero Access Footy. Today, of course, I am joined alongside my good friend, the Premiership Quarter, aka Mr. Behm. My name is Rhys, otherwise known as Northie, and
Mr. Behm, thanks.
Mr. Behm.
I love that one. That's a new one.
do you want Behm or Premiership Quarter?
I want neither.
Okay, whatever. You're always difficult. Anyways,
Yes.
Welcome to episode 2. I want to quickly give a thank you to you guys for giving so much support onto episode 1. It was fantastic to see the amount of people who viewed it, the nice comments alongside it, and the discussion we had. I know that a few of us got rowdy in the comments, so that was great to see.
I got rowdy in the video itself.
You got rowdy. And you're always a rowdy man.
You rolled me up big time, bro. you were crazy.
Well, with episode 2, hopefully we'll get something similar out of you.
Yeah,
we need a clip farm in some possible way. So if I can get you rolled up, it'll make things so much easier.
100%.
But a few things we're talking about today, of course. We had first half of the ladder predictions last week. Early on in this one, we will get started with our second half, which is going to be 8-1. We're going to compare it to others, and you've got a few segments you want to get to.
I do.
We've also got a call out for you guys towards the end of the episode, so
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Be around
100%.
for that one. But a load of different topics here. Obviously, footy is nearly back. I think when this is uploaded, it is literally one day until footy is back.
No,
Thursday night, right?
No, it'll be 48 hours.
It's Friday night.
Which is actually another topic because we don't have Thursday night between Brisbane and Geelong. It is officially going to be cancelled
Because of the thing.
because of the cyclone.
Yeah, fair enough.
So it's not going to be 24 hours. It is going to be 48 hours. I'm interested to see if they do it in round 3 because both teams have a bye then. It'll be interesting to see how everything works. But I think we
That's
should now
stupid.
just...
They should just play it.
They can't.
Just play it.
It's
Dude,
not...
if
not
all the
this-
old heads want to go on about how they miss the old football, like they miss the old days, they play in that cyclone. Do you understand the ratings that cyclone would
Oh,
create?
it'd be crazy. Yeah, it'd be so good.
Whoop, and there he goes. That would be fantastic.
Oh,
but-
the ball's just carried an extra 15 metres.
Okay. Like, as dangerous as it is, that sounds fantastic. But we're going to give ourselves a bit of time, firstly, to talk about the final preseason games. I think we went a bit long last time.
Yeah, we
so,
were fucking Jesus.
we're going to do our best to make this as brief as possible
Yeah.
and wrap it up within 5 minutes. So,
Yeah.
first game. What was the first
headliner
preseason
was a
game?
Tuesday night
Whoa.
between Geelong and Essendon.
Big
So Essendon ended up winning by 21 points. Finished off the game really, really strongly. Big talking point was probably Isaac Kako.
Yeah. Kako
He was really, really strong in that
nice.
game.
He's got a nice little spark. He's going to be one of those small forwards, it looks
Yeah,
like, which
yeah,
will
yeah.
be really exciting for us.
Really smart around the goals as well. I think he kicked 4, almost kicked 5. Sam Draker stole it off him, but it was touched. So really strong preseason game for Essendon. Collingwood whacked Richmond by 83 points. The Bulldogs beat Hawthorn by 11. Hawthorn looked to sort of be a bit sluggish early in the season, are still missing a couple players, weren't fully at their strength. But the Bulldogs had a lot of outs. They had a really, really strong performer as a rookie. Let me see what his name
gonna
was.
say, who was
Sam
that one again?
Davidson. He had 29 touches and a goal.
Yeah, not
which
bad.
is really, really impressive.
Where did he come in
I got no idea
in the
where he
draft?
came from. I actually don't know where he came from.
I'm not seeing any details from
Re-
him. He is an unknown man. Someone got lost. Someone found himself in the field and racked up a goal in 29 touches. Good on you. Well done.
He looked really
What
promising.
a way to put yourself on the map. Good stuff, mate.
Adelaide beat Brisbane by 3 points. Sorry, I'm going to be losing my voice like a lot here.
Yeah, I can hear you struggling. Do you want me to take over this part?
I
at
lost
all?
it on Saturday night, and I have been sick like all weekend. So we'll see how it goes.
Nobody
throughout.
asked, bro. Nobody asked.
Jordan Dawson carried Adelaide to a win, 2 goals, 24 touches. Really important for him to get this Adelaide team back into finals. Carlton whacked GWS. Don't need to talk about that. Sydney beat Gold Coast. No Goulden. Mac Andrew and Charlie Ballard also got injured, but we can just move past it.
Yep.
Should look pretty promising for this year, Sydney. Port Adelaide beat St Kilda pretty heftily. I'm going to move straight past that one.
Yeah, it's pre-season.
Coming to West Coast, North Melbourne, I think this is time to hand over to you now, and I can drink some water. That just
You're struggling
sprayed
so
water
hard.
on me.
Yeah, we end up losing this one by 2, but that's all right. I think from what it looked like, it was a very competitive game. We looked better than we played against Melbourne. Some highlights. Who was the best player? She's doing his thing. Tom Powell doing his thing. Again, I think he's going to be a breakout. Kelly looked good. Baker kicked a goal. 18 posies, doing well. Was he a midfield? Was he running around the midfield? I can't remember for sure.
I didn't watch the game, but he probably is going to do a bit less of everything than what he was doing at Richmond.
Yeah.
Hopefully, probably more at the half forward.
I was going to say,
area.
he's off the half-back line, it looked like, from the original team lineup.
Yeah.
So that's probably how he's getting most of his possessions.
Yeah.
And could be an interesting little player to pick up for fantasies that I know
100%.
of.
He's a
because
forward.
those small half-backs
Yeah.
are often possession getters. And I know a lot of people are eyeing Colby McKercher from what I've seen.
Yeah.
But Liam Baker could be a sneaky one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the final one, I've gone past the page. Where is it?
It's Fremantle, Melbourne.
Fremantle, Melbourne, and
Melbourne came
Freo
back
took
late.
it. Yeah, Freo took it by 19. So good signs. Petrarca and Oliver looked pretty
Yeah,
good.
they had 60 combined touches and 3 goals. I think Clayton had all of them, but that's really good signs for Melbourne for this year.
Yeah,
for sure.
and you'd hope that they can continue that because we've both kind of disrespected them a bit. But we also have mentioned that they're a very either boom or bust.
Yeah,
this year.
there's so many what ifs with them.
This could be an
It's
interesting
just
year for them. But
super hard to predict.
Fremantle, on the other hand, I'm expecting a big year from Fremantle. I reckon Freo can really. I think they've just been such a tease the last few years.
Yeah.
Right? I think they haven't made it to the qualifying final just yet. Sorry, not qualifying. Preliminary final.
No,
just yet. They haven't made it
lost
to that
in
one.
2023. No,
To Collingwood
2022.
in the semi,
sorry,
right?
after beating the Bulldogs in the first week.
That's right. That's as far as they've
Yeah.
gone, and I think they missed finals last year. So this year, I feel like they've got to do it. They just have to. They've added some extra talent. I don't think they've lost anyone from memory.
No, not really.
I think this is the year for them. If they are to make any moves, they've got to do it now. All right,
Yep.
I think we've done well to keep it within the time limit there. We've actually managed
High five.
to. We're podcast hosts, baby. We're doing it. All right. Now we've got ourselves something we can take a bit more of time with.
Yes.
Our ladder predictions. This is part 2 of what we started last week. We've got ourselves 8-1. So we're starting off with Behm, it looks like. And this
Yep.
is going to be very interesting to see. From what I remember, you haven't put Gold Coast in the bottom half yet. So your top
have
8
to
will have
find
Gold
out.
Coast.
You'll have to find
I
out.
know that Gold Coast is in there. Thankfully, none of us have put either North or St Kilda, so you know we're not biased. Although
Not biased. You had North Melbourne at 10.
I was very close to putting them finals. I don't think you understand. My first draft that I sent to producer Ethan, God bless him, I had him 9th because I'm like, if we finish 9th, that's really good.
Okay,
But I'm like, that's a bit
I might
out
be
of
done
out of
with this
control.
podcast on day 2. This is insane.
I don't have
How
that
have-
much bias.
How
Leave me
have I been
alone.
stuck with this bloke?
Leave me alone,
Okay.
man. All right, go for it.
So, 8th. Originally, I had them a bit higher, but it's Carlton.
Okay.
I think had a couple of injuries not have happened, Sam Walsh, had he have been fit, Jagger Smith, had he have not finished his season, very easily could have had them finishing higher, pushing for top 4.
yeah.
As I continue to struggle with my voice. It's going to be really,
Man, it's gonna be really
bad.
tough.
It's
Your
gonna be
camera
really
doesn't
bad.
work. You're feeling like shit. This could be really.
It's going to be really,
so
really
bad
fun.
for you, man. No,
But
you got this, man. You got.
I just think they've got a heap of talent. As we'll come up with later in the segment, we've got Corns and Kingy's burning questions, which we will react to. That's based on their defense. And I think there's a certified point there because aside from Jacob Wiedering, they've lost Newman. Doherty's probably not going to be fit enough and defensively strong enough to be able to play there anymore. And then you've just got mediocre players. You've got Haynes, you've got McGovern, you've got Kemp, Silvani's looking to play there, Lewis Young. I just don't see enough talent there compared to the other spots. Because if you've, as we talked about last week, if you have a really strong backline, you're really solid. Carlton might not just have that at this moment.
Yeah, they've obviously got
But-
one of the most dominating forward lines
Yeah.
we've seen in a good while. But I agree. Like I think I mentioned, you said that I mentioned last week. Backlines, I think, are the most important part of any team.
Yeah.
Right. I think talent can always shine in the midfield. They can always have their days.
Forwards
But
will
if
always
your-
kick goals.
But if your
always.
backline is dog shit, then you just allow you make it harder for yourself.
Yeah.
At every single opportunity, you make
Yeah.
it so difficult. And I know from experience.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, how do you have you guys at 10 with your backline?
because our backline's going to step up this year.
Who?
All of them.
Can't name a single one.
All of them. They're all going to step up. All right. Are you done with your number
I'm done
8?
with
All right.
Carlton,
Cool.
yes.
So for
I'm done
my
with
number
Carlton.
8.
They can leave.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. Yeah, okay, cool.
Okay,
I've got
yeah.
Port Adelaide.
Yeah.
So, in the sense that I think I was mentioning it to you when we were discussing this and kind
Mm-hmm.
of trying to work this out together, I can't think of any big additions to Port Adelaide. And not to say that that's going to be the sole reason they drop, but they've lost Butters to start the season. They're going to have him out for a bit. Hopefully he can kind of integrate himself back, but they lost Charlie Dixon, who, although he hasn't been very impactful the last few years, is a forward target at the very least. I really value in the forward line just a target, just a big body to look for, because then all the attention goes to that person while you're trying to work out around the ball, like what small forwards are going to shine from there.
Yeah,
and obviously if the target is a strong marker, that makes it even better.
Yeah.
But the only thing I can think of for Port Adelaide is Jeremy Finlayson.
He's gone back now anyway.
Yeah. So who have they got in
bit of a
the
swing
forward
change.
line at the moment? So they'd
At the
have
moment,
Jack
it's
Lukosius.
Ollie Lord, Lukosius, and Georgiades.
Yeah.
And then you got-
Georgiades is underrated. I think
He
often,
was really good in the back end
I
of
think
last year.
often,
Fantastic.
yeah. I think often he can find himself
But-
very kind of forgotten about.
What
But
they do now is they have Sam Powell Pepper basically as that like fourth forward,
Yeah.
and he's really, really strong for them. He's so hard to play on.
He is a
'Cause he's a bull.
Yeah,
He's a
exactly.
bull,
He's
and-
a bull for sure.
It also allows probably Jason and Francis to play a bit more midfield time, and now without Butters, obviously they're going to really need it.
Yeah.
But I can understand having Port Adelaide 8.
I also wanted to mention that their backline, at least last year,
it was weak.
it was I think shaky is the better way
Yeah,
of putting it.
yeah,
I think
probably.
they had their times. Right, that game against Sydney where they pumped him, that was unreal.
It was just an outlier.
that was
though.
crazy to
We
watch.
saw it was just an outlier.
but I think there's also those games like Brandon Zerk-Thatcher is one that's very on and off.
Yep.
He is a player who sometimes surprises me in how effective he can be, but then other times will drop back to Essendon
levels.
form. I hate that Essendon is
So good.
Essendon is the bar we use for shit. Essendon fans are not watching this podcast. They're leaving
We had
dislikes and telling us to go fuck
I
ourselves.
think I had them 17th or something.
Yeah.
Like they're not gonna like me whatsoever.
Yeah, no. But again, I've got him in my top 8, and I think that probably says a lot for a lot of the teams in the top 8. I reckon they're all going to be solid this year. But the top 8, like, is full of amazing teams, like
100%.
teams that are hard to find problems with.
Yeah.
So Port Adelaide, although they are 8th, and at
I've
the
got-
end they're still very good.
I've got a big bolter at 7. A big bolter. Adelaide.
Yeah, I put them in my bottom. I can see it. I think I. No, I'll let you keep going. I've got a lot of thoughts with that. Go.
We discussed this, what was it, last week
Yeah.
when we were talking about their backline, where I was a big fan of it. You weren't. I don't know
Yeah.
if it was on the podcast or not. I can't remember. But I really like Josh Worrell. I think he's a fantastic player. I like Mitch Hinge off halfback. They're going to get Wayne Miller at back. They've got Max Michelini, who was a really, really strong player for them at the back end of last year as well as in his first year. But their key tools are really interesting because none of them have fully broken out as the locks, but there's about 5 of them that could very easily play there. You got Borlase, you got Butts, you got Murray, and you got a couple others that I just can't remember the name of. But they could just rotate essentially, and one of them will always get injured, always. So they're never lacking the depth. It's just the high end talent. But I think their midfield now is looking really, really strong. You got Dawson, you got Rankin, you got Laird, you got Crouch if he plays, you got Draper, who I'm a huge fan of. I think he could very easily help and be a really important player. Sid Draper, yeah. I think it'd be a really important player this year, early. And you've also got Sam Berry. And then up forward, I don't think any of them, their keys in Walker, Fogarty, or Thilthorpe are going to break out and kick 55 goals like David King thinks one of them might.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But I think they could all kick over 40 goals.
They could.
I think if they all average 2 goals a game, very easily could help Adelaide propel into the top 8. And I think Matthew Nix needs this, and I think he'll help them.
God, does he need it? Poor bastard.
He's going to get fired if they don't make the 8.
Yeah, if they, no, that is
like,
true. And even then, if
the-
they get
the
knocked out,
talent's
if
there
they get
now.
knocked out first round, do you reckon he still keeps it?
We'll have to see because they could be knocked
At
out
least-
first round to finishing 8th
was
just in the
gonna
finals,
say-
or they could be 6th and just can't get over the line against a really good team like Hawthorn maybe.
Yeah.
But I also think the additions of Cumming, Neil Bullen, and there was one more.
The most notable one for me is Neil Bullen
Yeah,
because I know.
he's that
maybe because
connection
he's
piece.
yeah, maybe because he's got the premiership
He's got experience. Yeah.
He's sort of a bull, but he's not the Sam Powell-Pepper type bull.
No, he's smart.
Yeah,
he's got footy smarts, and that's what they need.
That's not saying that Powell-Pepper isn't smart, but like Sam Powell-Pepper is much more of a rough and tumble guy.
Yeah,
while
100%.
Alex Neil-Bullen would rather play around the pack and work himself there, but he's more than happy to get his hands dirty.
Him, Rankin, and Rochelle are going to be really tough to stop.
My problem is, right, you mentioned that their midfield is really good, right? That's been their midfield for quite some time, has it not? Rory Laird, Jordan Dawson ever since he came back. Isaac Rankin's been around for a little bit.
No. So Dawson, Rankin, and Laird is their three in the midfield, is really balanced. Rankin in the second half of the year, we saw how good he was. They just couldn't get over the line over a couple of teams. That's the problem.
But that confuses me. I mean, unless they put Neil Bullen in there.
You know who the other one was? James Peatling. That's who I forgot it was.
Peatling.
And I think he's going to be a fantastic player.
Yeah. Well, from GWS, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he showed some glimpses. I remember that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I've got Adelaide lower, because I don't see too much of a change from last year, right? And maybe for their sake, it'd be better if they're outside of the 8 so they can find a new coach with a new system, because that's a lot of, the talent is there. It's good talent. But I don't know if Nix is the right guy for the job.
We'll have to see. I think this is.
But then again, I don't know shit about coaching. I'm just making a very blanket statement. Man, I act like I know fucking anything. Yeah.
You know nothing. We know
I know fuck all. All right. My next one could confuse a few people. Number 7 is Sydney. So I am very much a believer in grand final hangovers.
Yeah.
Especially off of losses and big losses. Mm-hmm. I think close losses at least gives you the motivation to go back again. Sydney have now climbed all the way to the top of the mountain twice in 3 years and gotten fucking pelted. They've lost Luke Parker, which, look, it isn't the biggest loss in the world, but at the same time, that's a dude that probably had a lot of mates there, a lot of pull in that club. They've still got Chad Warner, but also the links that Chad could be gone. Sydney's hoping to the Lord, whoever it may be, that can help him for some reason change his heart. I think from what a lot of people can see, he looks like he's on his way up, but I think some have said that he wants
to. Weird.
It's a very weird situation going on in Sydney at the moment, and this is probably worst case scenario for them. I think they're a lock for the 8. Period.
Oh yeah,
they've still got so much talent. Heaney,
if they
Golden,
miss, it's really
Grundy
bad.
at his best. Grundy had a really nice bounce back last year. Chad Warner is fantastic. They've seen some high rises. You've always got the low key ones. Like Blakey, I guess, is low key. I don't think he gets too much, but everyone loves the lizard. I'm thinking more the James Rowbottoms.
He does the waddle. Yeah, Rowbottom, Jordan, Cunningham, those sort of types.
Yeah, I'm thinking more those guys who really take a lot of what Sydney wants to be and personifies it really well in the regular season.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is a big drop-off from their minor premiership last year, so it'll be interesting to see. I am quite intrigued. I just think with all that's going on in Sydney at the moment, I don't know. And if I'm looking at my list right now, they are interchangeable with 6. I think they've both got similar problems. So once I reveal 6 later on, we'll be able to discuss that. But yeah, it'll be an interesting year for Sydney for sure.
For sure. When I have them in my top 8, we'll talk a bit more about them. But the team that I have in 6 is probably the biggest shock.
Yeah. Look, for their sake, I hope it happens. For their sake, man.
There's not that much to talk about because we know exactly what could happen. We know exactly what could happen.
Yeah.
It's just the problem of whether it happens. And I think second year Dimmer, I think it works. I think that's what the year Richmond made finals was second year Hardwick. I think it was 2013 they lost to Carlton. Mm-hmm. I think this could happen again. I think we could see now with Rioli, Noble, and a bit more of a well-rounded team where you have some extra players aside from just your really strong spine. It'll help them. I think Ben King takes a really, really good year this year. Takes a big jump. Bailey Humphrey, I'm really, really excited for. Leo Lombard, I'm a huge fan of from the draft. They've still got all the players they took last year as well. So we know the talent's there.
They realistically need to make the jump. They just need to.
With Melbourne, you've got about 20 what ifs. With Gold Coast, it's one big what if.
Yeah.
Does it all work?
Does it all work? They've added. It feels like they've added a ton, man.
Oh, yeah.
I love the leadership switch up with Noah Anderson. I think that's a switch into a new generation.
Yeah.
And with so many additions, like I like Noble. I think Noble's really
100%
good.
experienced player.
Daniel Rioli will be again experienced player. And although I don't have them and I can't trust them, like I don't know what it is. I cannot trust this team. Well, I know what it is. They haven't made the fucking finals before. I know exactly what it fucking is. But this is like what I hope happens because far out does Gold Coast need to make a jump soon. Because God, if they rebuild, it'll be like, what the fuck are we doing here, man? What are we doing here?
Yeah, let's move on now.
Let's go to the next one. This one for number 6, I have GWS.
Okay, yep.
And like I said, interchangeable with 7. Injuries is already a factor for them as they don't have Tom Green for a little bit.
Jake Stringer just got injured today.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Shock. Probably got that from Essendon.
Again, back to Essendon. What is this?
Oh, I love it so much. GWS, though, so what we've seen a lot is good, consistent footy from GWS, but never being able to go over the top. A fairly heartbreaking finish to their season last year, so I don't doubt there's motivation to get over the top of that. I think a lot of this is coming down to the fact that we've kind of seen their hand. We know how they play. I don't imagine they make too many change-ups. They just hope that Stringer, when he's not injured, becomes a spark plug. They've lost a couple, like you mentioned, Peatling before. I don't know. Who else have they lost?
Peatling, Cumming, Perriman, Hayes.
Yeah, they've lost a fair few. Haynes is not that much of a big
borderline,
deal.
but it's still player.
Perryman was one that I liked, but now he's gone. The good thing is it looks like they do have some players to fill in those spots.
They've got like Lockie Ash, Darcy Jones will come through. Finn Callahan will now be able to have room to break out.
Yeah.
Problem is for me, they still have a really old list.
I was going to mention age.
By
age too, because, I mean, the fact that Whitfield's in his 30s, I just can't believe that.
Yeah.
He looks like he looks like he's 21.
He probably plays like he's 21 too.
Yeah, he's like we mentioned before, he's a halfback who gets a lot of disposals, right? He does well for himself, but they feel like a team stuck in limbo. It's not a bad limbo to be stuck in, but I don't see it being a premiership.
Neither. I had them missing the 8, so...
Yeah, and I could imagine that happening too. I think that's if everything goes wrong, right? I think that the talent is no question at all, but we'll see how it turns out. I'm not sure how GWS will go.
Well, we'll move on to 5th now. I think it'll be very interesting. But I have Hawthorn. I wouldn't be surprised if this is exactly where they finish. Well, surprise, that's where I had them finishing. But I think
we
don't
need so much work on our commentary, man. I've got Hawthorn 5th. I think they're going to finish 5th. That's awesome, man. Well done.
Thanks.
Fucking
I'm having a day today. But I think it's a harder draw this year. They're going to have the pressure on their backs this year. There's going to be every chance teams come and go for them, where either it's physicality or it's going to be verbal, whatever it is. I think teams are going to really come at them this year. How they handle it's going to be interesting. How they set up is going to be even more interesting because you've got Barras, Battle, Sicily, Weddle, Scrimshaw, Frost.
That's a beautiful backline.
That's 6 key defenders. How do they line up? I think Sicily,
that is true.
Sicily might be playing on the wing this year. He might be playing up forward. Frost might not be in the team. Scrimshaw might not be in the team. Weddle might be playing on the wing. I think there's so many iterations that they can go with that it might be hard to find the best one. And especially early, it might be hard to find the best one. So I think them having so many additions could be almost like a subtraction.
Yeah.
I like their forward line, especially their smalls. But again, Mabior Chol, Jack Gunston, Cal Shadir, is it doing it for you? Because it's not overly doing it for me, which is why I don't see them
I can think of
jumping into
maybe
the top
Cal
4.
Shadir, but Cal Shadir still feels like he's got a ways to go in terms of experience, building his body up.
And Mitch Lewis isn't coming back until potentially June.
Yeah,
So that's a long
unfortunately
while away.
for me, I feel like Mitch Lewis is a lost cause. And for his sake, I hope he isn't. I hope he comes back and smashes it, because Hawthorn would love something like that. But yeah, Marby or Chol, I guess there's a reason he's kind of been to a couple teams already, is because like he can do it. He can do a job and he can have some good games, but he's not the consistent go-to guy that you kind of want out of a big key forward. And Jack Gunston, age.
Yeah.
He's got the smarts. I think he's doing well to keep himself in the league.
It'll also be interesting to see.
We'll see when he drops off, unfortunately.
How Lloyd Milk.
Lloyd Milk? That's the best mispronunciation I've ever heard. Lloyd Milk.
It's going to be interesting to see how Lloyd Meek and Ned Reeves battle out the number 1 spot, because obviously Meek was fantastic in the back end of last year. But whether he does it again will be interesting, because someone like Kieran Briggs didn't do it again, and it was a very similar story. But I think we can move on to your 5th spot now.
Yeah, my 5th spot. Sorry, mate. If you want to... Yeah, sorry, buddy. I apologise. Please don't hurt me.
If you didn't know, Ethan, our producer,
God bless the man.
our man in the chair, is a Collingwood fan.
Yeah, and
So he thinks they're going to go 23-0.
Yeah, he's...
I'm not sure if you can hear that. But
yeah, don't you have a microphone over there?
It's a given. It's a given. Flag prize 26, 25 even.
26
and 28.
26. But not 20,
10 in a row.
27.
Nick Dacos is the greatest player of all time.
Go back to your role, producer. No one cares. God. This producer just yaps, bro. But Collingwood, obviously we know they've got the premiership experience coming off of missing finals last year. All right. I don't think I need to mention much more about Collingwood.
Obviously added lots of players. Perryman, Houston,
as they
Membry.
usually do.
Yeah, they went all in this year.
So I could honestly see them going further up. They could definitely hit top 4 for sure. I just think there's some other risers as well. Who could potentially pip them.
For sure.
If you can think of the ones already off the top of your head from what I've picked so far, then
From what
good
we
on you.
haven't picked as well.
Yep, that's it. But Collingwood at number 5, but can definitely see them going up with the amount of talent that they have.
Number 4.
Who have you got for 4?
Port Adelaide.
Okay.
Obviously going to miss Butters to start the year. They're going to have a switcheroo with all their keys, I think. So you're going to have Alir as the lock. You're going to have Georgiades as the lock. I think Ollie Lord as well should be a lock. But after that, you're going to have Radaglia, Zerk Thatcher.
That's right,
Jack
Radaglia.
Lukosius. Yeah,
Radaglia is so funny sometimes, man.
Jack Lukosius, Ivan Soldo. So there's just going to be a bit of rotation, I'm assuming, there. You're really questioning why I did that hand movement, aren't you?
No, I'm just thinking about Radaglia.
Why?
The first thing I think of with Radaglia is his gaff at Geelong, where he punched it forward after kicking a goal, and then
Almost.
the anti of that at Port when he was supposed to touch it and he didn't.
Oh yeah,
That's
Jack
all.
Buckley
When
did
I
that
think
as
of
well.
Vasava Radaglia, he has talent. Don't get me wrong, but man, he's funny.
He's a very funny man. But I think obviously no Butters to start the year, meaning Rosie and Horn Francis, Drew White. That's still an extremely good midfield mix. And it's probably only bested by maybe 1 or 2 without Butters. So I think Willem Drew now has got the space. You got Josh Sin, Joe Berry. They've got a couple younger players as well who can push through and break through into this team. You've got Kane Farrell, who will probably replace what Dan Houston was doing. I dare say Sin will probably still play off of half-back. You've got Logan Evans, who I think was really, really good at the back end of last year. He'll continue to improve. And then their forward line now, there's a bit of a stronger mix than it was last year. Still no Marshall, but I think Georgiades has shown he's capable. Lukosius looked good in the weekend against St Kilda. And Ollie Lord should take a breakout year this year. So I think the big reason I have them finishing 4th, though, whereas you have them finishing 8th, was Jason Horn Francis. was-
tell me
I
you
was-
think it's a breakout year.
I was the biggest hater of Jason Horne-Francis for the first
No, you
2
weren't. I can guarantee you
no.
weren't. I
Look-
can guarantee you I was the biggest hater of Jason Horne-Francis.
Okay.
I don't want to fucking hear it from you.
I was the second biggest hater of Jason
Yeah.
Horne-Francis.
That's better.
Jesus. Might need to switch to camera 1 to see that. That could be a thumbnail.
No,
and the second version of the thumbnail.
No.
But he could finish top 5 in the Brownlow medal.
Well, if we're going off of his previous years where he's gone fucking 3 votes for 10 possessions at 17% efficiency,
he-
absolutely.
He will miss 20 games and he'll vote in all those 20 games. that's how he could win it.
Yeah, I wouldn't
But
surprise me.
I just think that even though you got the stuff with all the coach, obviously this year, there's still a lot of talent, and that's why I have them finishing 4th.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's fair enough. You mentioned Logan Evans. That's one that I need to look out for
Yes.
because I heard his name come up not long ago, and I'm like, I have not heard of Logan Evans. But hearing that he had a good second half of the season, I want to keep a lookout for him.
Also, number 4.
All right, let's move to number 4. I've got
Flag
Freo.
mantle.
This one
Yeah.
is an interchangeable one with number 3. This one was hard to pick because I think Fremantle is ready for a big year. They've
Yep.
got some great additions. Overall, they've got some good players. Hayden Young being out for a little bit could maybe affect how that goes, but I think they've got such a strong rotation nearly all around the ground that it's going to be hard for it to really affect them. He's just an addition when he comes back. I will not mention who I think it is, but I've got one of these guys within the midfield in my top 3 for the Brownlow. I think one of them is going to smash it this year.
So do I.
Just from rises. From rises. This person has been rising over and over. And so I think this could be a really, really big year. And obviously they've got some experience, not premiership experience, but I mean, Nat Fyfe, although he's nowhere near at his best, will provide his impact here and there.
Yep.
You've got Alex Pearce running as captain, who I
Fife
think
will
is...
miss early as well.
Yeah, and I think that's okay for free. I think they'll be able to work around it. But you've got they've got positions and players to work out every single matchup, right? You've got your small defenders and attackers. You've got Switkowski in forward, and then you move back, and you've got some others like
Chapman,
Yeah.
Clark, all
I was
those.
going to say Clark is probably
Yeah.
the one that I'm interested the most in this year because he's shown a lot of signs early in his career, but he started to stagnate from what I can remember.
From 2022 onwards, he hasn't really done too much differently.
So I think if the backline does step up, Jordan Clark will play a part in it.
Yeah.
You've got your big bodies, Tracy, Amos,
No
Pierce
Darcy.
in the back.
No
No
Darcy.
Darcy, but that's, I mean, Luke Jackson. Bloody hell, that's a very good backup to have. That's a very, very good backup. And Luke Jackson plays some incredible football when he is the sole option.
Oh, yeah.
I think he does a good job of being a role player when he needs to, when Darcy's taking those main ruck duties. But man, is he a good ruckman. I mean, they call him a unicorn for a reason. Like, he's bloody good.
He could be the best around the ground ruckman. I know we talked about Tim English last week being them.
Yeah.
But for sure, his impact is great both in stoppage and around the ground.
Yeah, and that's why they're interchangeable with 3 because I think
Yep.
they've got great players all around.
Yeah.
And I think this year could be the year that sparks it. And man, from all the links, they look to be getting better next year. So I feel like if it's not this year, it's next year at least.
Yeah.
So I expect Freo. I feel like Freo's height should be a grand final within the next couple of years.
Yeah,
I think
so.
if they're not
They're
this year or
buying
next
in.
year,
They're buying in.
yeah, if it's not this year or next year, I'd be quite surprised.
Yeah.
But yeah, Freo at 4, could be at 3. Yeah, that's that.
I have the reigning premiers at 3.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
Bruising.
not against it.
A lot of people will probably have them slightly sliding, probably closer to 5, 6 than I have them. But
I'm shocked by that.
Some people also have them sliding out of the 8, which I genuinely cannot understand.
I mean, I understand that their run was kind of like out of the blue, but like they've lost Joe Danaher.
Lost
but
Joe
they've
Danaher.
gotten some, like, Levi Ashcroft looks to be fantastic.
Getting McInerney back for the grand final, getting Dodie, getting Levi Ashcroft back. Well, no, sorry, not back, but a new one.
Yeah, he's another Ashcroft. Awesome.
Getting Marshall in as well from the draft.
And
Jasper Fletcher's only going to improve. Will Ashcroft's only going to
Yeah.
improve. Hugh McCluggage is going to be able to play on the wing full time now, which helps him. Cam Rayner's only going to get better. You're going to have Zach Bailey, who's going to have a much better year than he did have last year. You've got Link McCarthy, who's going to be able to come back this year. Logan Morris
Kitty
is going to
Coleman.
improve. Keaton Coleman's going to come back this year. they lost Joe Danaher. They still have so much fucking talent on this list
I was going to say.
that there's no world that they miss out on the finals.
I genuinely believe that Brisbane have what it takes to fill his role with the players they've already got.
Absolutely.
I specifically highlight Hipwood. There is so much talent that will be able to find Hipwood.
100%.
I think Hipwood is really going to benefit from that this year.
Back in their backline, they've got Andrews, Lester, Jack Payne, and Tom Dodine now. You got Coleman, Zorko, and Starcevic as your 3 other small forwards.
Yeah.
One of the best backlines you will see in the league. Their midfield, McInerney, Neal, Dunkley, McCluggage if he goes in there. The 2 Ashcroft twins. Jasper Fletcher might play some time in there.
So much!
And that's not even touching on their small forwards.
Yeah, I know.
You've got Zach Bailey,
Charlie
Link McCarthy,
Cameron.
Charlie Cameron, Kai Lohman. What don't they have?
Yeah, I very much agree with you. I think
So to see
they're at least top
Brisbane
4.
missing,
Yeah, I don't know how people think they're missing unless it goes terribly wrong.
don't
and everyone
get it.
Like a full Monstars moment where they lose all their talent.
literally.
I really don't see.
So Brisbane 100% are making top 4 again.
I reckon.
100% making top 8 at the bare minimum.
Yeah.
So that's why I got them 3rd. I don't think they got the hunger to finish 1st, but they'll definitely finish 3rd.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. My number 3, I've got Hawthorn.
Yeah.
So I think I'm always like I mention the backline a lot because I truly believe that any good team starts at the backline, and Tom Barras as an addition is a very, very good addition to an already really nice backline.
I'm not as huge on Tom Barras as others. I think he very much piggybacked off of
I
McGovern.
think that's fair because look, that's also a West Coast team that he's coming from. A very bad West Coast team. There was also Jeremy McGovern, so to make Barras look better. But I think he has the tools. And the system is bloody good at
System's
Hawthorn.
much better,
The system's
and there's
fantastic.
more talent all around that backline.
Yeah.
That's
look,
better than
I
West
think
Coast.
Barras, won't have to do as much as he did at West Coast.
No.
But I think he's going to come off a lot more effective.
Yeah.
Right? I
Fair
think,
enough.
although that is just one addition, you obviously look at their backline, held up by, I guess I'd say held up by Sicily. He's the captain of the team, so I'd say run by Sicily. But great all around. Scrimshaw coming off the half backline is one of my favourite things to watch. And then you look through
The Weddle Waddle.
yeah, that's it. You look through the midfield and you've got some good talent in there. Love John Newcomb. Probably the only mid-season draft pickup I've ever seen do well.
No, there are some.
There's
you
some,
just don't
but
see it often.
John Newcomb is the poster child for the
Yeah,
mid-season draft. And then I think the forward line has... it is the most flash. It is the most flash in the entire league. So I wouldn't say that equates to talent, but man, is it good when they're firing. It's hard. It's hard to stop. You've got 2 pests in Watson and Ginnivan.
You've got like 5 pests there, not just 2.
But the main pests, I think, are Watson and Ginnivan.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Mabior Chol, which we talked about being, not the greatest forward, but obviously it's not like he is a detriment to that forward line.
No.
You've got Gunston, who's still got some experience
Still a little bit
and
of
something
juice
to
left.
kind of he's got that knowledge to pass around. And Sam Mitchell's doing a fantastic job in the head coaching position. He's probably one of the safest coaches out there at the moment.
100%.
Yeah, so Hawthorn looking very prime, but again, interchangeable with Fremantle because I think Fremantle, they could. I was going to say should, but I don't think they should. I think they could pass Hawthorn in terms of rankings. I think Hawthorn.
They're almost tied for me.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. I'm very much a believer in both teams at the moment.
Yeah.
That's 3.
2. Ethan's kind of happy. Can I hear your thoughts on this, Ethan? I want to hear your thoughts on this.
You've really undersold them here, I think.
Piss off.
I could have them finishing 23-0 and second, and he'd still have me thinking I've underrated
Well, that's
them.
impossible, mate.
No, it's not.
23
23 and 0
second.
and second.
Oh yeah, I'm dumb.
Man, you've had some absolutely cracking lines
Leave it
today.
alone.
All right, give us your explanation.
Only got better. Had lots of injuries last year. It's really hard to predict injuries, but I don't think it's going to be hit as bad. They have found another third medium forward who's going to play as a key forward. In memory, got Houston, got Perryman, got some young players who now have experience in the team and will really fight to get in it. I think Sidebottom could potentially come out of the team, but that's more so because we saw a role change for him last year that I don't know he's going to be able to do again this year. Pendlebury could also have the same, but he probably just doesn't play as much.
Which is,
than being out of the team.
I actually disagree. I think they're going to push him for the games record.
I think if they push him for the games record, there's a higher chance of injury, and they could do it over 2 years, where it's both this year and next year.
I get that,
and
but
spread it out.
He's 400. He's still playing at a very good level. I'd imagine they try and get it.
Well, it's what, 432, right?
432.
It's
yeah.
not going to happen this year.
No, I know,
It physically can't.
but they're going to get him as close as they can.
So he'll play another year,
Yeah.
and they'll do what you guys did, but again to beat Boomer's record.
I'll be so sad when that happens.
But I think there's another year now where they can plan without having Nathan Murphy, which will be really important because obviously you got Frampton, who sometimes plays there. Charlie Dean plays there sometimes. Tim Membry can also play in the back line. I just think that they've now settled down with this team. Even though they've added so many players, they've settled down a little bit.
we know their core.
Yeah. So they got Schultz as well last year, who'll finally be settled in this team. Still got a good small forward tier. And I think now that their midfield is a bit more even, they'll be able to fire back and really jump up the ladder this year.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible, for sure. For me, number 2, I can never get past this team. I've got Geelong.
It's a big gap between where we have them.
I know.
Very big gap.
I can never get over them. So Max Holmes is coming off a best and fairest season, which is great that a young person has won the best and fairest within that club. My God, they need young talent all the time to come through because obviously Tom Hawkins being gone now. Jeremy Cameron's going to have to play a massive role this year. He is.
Really?
You know what I mean. He doesn't have Hawkins anymore to lean.
He's got Shannon Neal.
Shannon Neal. He's the best player I've ever seen.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, whatever. Look, I think Geelong, they've added, again, more talent. Shock with Bailey Smith. It'll be interesting to see how that goes coming off of a knee injury, a major knee injury, and they've still got the talent all around. I think you mentioned in yours, Tom Stewart was a big question mark, and I agree. I think Tom Stewart is going to be a big hit or miss. Tom Stewart for sure, though. He's one that needs to be... I wouldn't even say he needs to take a step up, but he needs to be able to play more of a leadership role now. He needs to be able to bring everyone around him high up. Sam DeConning is probably one that I'd like to see another step up with because he's had some great roles, one-on-one battles as of late, or at least last year. But I think... if Tom Stewart is to make a move into the midfield, he will need to take the spot.
I don't think they need to move him into the midfield anymore.
You don't think so?
I think Bailey Smith now adding into the team, Dangerfield probably playing slightly more forward as well.
Yeah, I was going to say Dangerfield. I don't know how long he's going to be a midfield
He's
lock.
not. Apparently they're playing him as like a full-time forward this year almost. So
Interesting.
I think it'll probably maximise his impact.
Yeah.
Just not his stats for sure.
Yeah, but for me, Geelong just always find a way to fuck around and find out. They just keep doing it.
Yeah, even with his coaching, even with the additions, I still just can't see it with this team. So I have to disagree, but there's nothing wrong with that. And I think it's time to move on to the
number 1, baby.
number 1 team.
Who have you got?
The Sydney Swans.
Okay.
No Errol Goulden for the first, 3 months of the season with a broken ankle. Or fractured ankle.
No Callum Mills either, so off to a fucking great start for number 1.
No Callum Mills. No Logan McDonald.
The number 1 spot should not start off with, so about half their good players are fucked.
I'm looking down the lens. Dean Cox is going to be the saviour of this club. Logan McDonald could leave and they'll still be better off without him. Chad Warner could leave. They won't be better off without him, but it will be very good this year. Isaac Heaney will continue to be very good. That's about all I can say. No, I'm joking.
And they're 1!
I'm joking.
You put them at 1 and that's all you can say, man.
So, who did they lose over the off-season?
Luke Parker.
Not going to do too much.
Yeah.
Barely played.
Who else did they lose? They definitely lost some.
So they didn't lose anyone. And
I guess so.
They didn't really gain anyone. And young players are just going to come back through. A new coach, which is the most important thing they could have done to this club, because I was sick of Justin Longmire by the end.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, that
Longmire.
makes sense. Yeah.
We always see a boost with first-year coaches. Always.
Adamuze?
Okay, we're not talking about dog shit Richmond. Okay?
I think top 4 is possible for sure. But, I mean, you started off talking about all their injuries and you've got them at 1.
Okay, yeah. I don't care.
Yes.
I think Amadi will still be really good this year. You're going to have Papley. People forget about Papley. You're going to have Angus Sheldrick potentially playing in the team this year. You're going to have Braden Campbell breaking out this year. Justin McInerney. They finished first last year. Didn't get better. Didn't get worse.
But they're starting off worse.
But
I understand what you're saying in the sense that they didn't get worse, right? They don't. Their list is really good still.
This was made before Errol Gordon's injury. I'm so fucking annoyed. But anyway.
Look, I can understand that, right? I
Yeah.
can understand looking at their list, like, without any context, you could be like, yep, this could be the best team again. This definitely could be the best team again in 2025. But, yeah, with the factors we have now, number 1 is wild.
I just think when you don't, like, lose anyone on your roster, basically, a new coach comes in with a new system, a new game plan, as I'm really losing my voice here right now.
Look, the motivation, and it's the motivation to
There's a new message in the team.
yeah, and it's rejuvenating. I understand that. I do understand it, but I don't know if that's going to carry them to 1.
I think,
like I said, top 4.
They were absolutely blasting through teams in the first half of the season last year. If they just win by 2 to 3 goals every game without Errol Goulden, basically they can just be good enough, and then when he comes back, they could win 6 in a row very easily. You still got Chad Warner, you still got Isaac Heaney. There's still so much talent on this list. Brodie Grundy's still there. Taylor Adams. You still got a lot on the list. And I still really like it. The only concern I do have is their key backs. That is the only concern. Because if Tom McCartan isn't playing down there, I'm not a huge fan of it.
Okay. I want to quickly, because Sydney are playing in the opening round, are they not?
Yeah, they're playing Hawthorn.
Hawthorn.
I think they beat Hawthorn.
You think they beat Hawthorn?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'd say Hawthorn would win that one. But nonetheless, we'll move to my number 1 spot, and we talked about how good they were before. The final team remaining, it is Brisbane. I think with all that they've done to keep, honestly, just their roster being healthy now can be enough to take them over to the top. Yeah. I think the winning the grand final will obviously, I mean, I mentioned before, there is the chance that they have that grand final hangover, so it'll be up to them to bring that motivation back. I know they fought so hard over the last 5 years to try and get to this point, and now that they're at the top of the mountain, then they're the ones being hunted. Do they still have that same hunger? But I think absolutely so. Realistically, they've got so much young talent. They've still got some really good players in their prime, maybe in the case of some just about to head out, but still really, really good players. I just don't see a flaw in this side. It's insane.
It's crazy.
And like I said, although they have lost Joe Danaher, I think that means Eric Hipwood will be fed. Mm-hmm. This isn't like a North Melbourne situation where it's Nick Larkey and Nick Larkey alone.
No.
You've got Eric Hipwood with Charlie Cameron, Lincoln McCarthy, like all these small forwards who, even if Eric Hipwood doesn't take the mark, all he has to do is bring it to ground, and there's a very good chance there is still a goal made out of that. Like their team is great all around. I'm a big fan of Kitty Coleman and was so upset when he went down round 1 last year. So I'm expecting big things. I really am hoping that this becomes something big for them.
Yeah.
Because if there's any team I think that can start a dynasty in this current day, it is Brisbane. They have the talent. They've got youth. And they're coming off of a premiership now. Everyone there knows what it takes to win a premiership. I see them winning the minor premiership in 2025.
Fair enough. I think we've now actually finished our ladder.
Yep.
We've both finished our ladders. Fox Footy came out midweek with their own ladder prediction. Now, they had 5 statistics or whatever rules on how they wanted to do it or whatever it was.
Yeah, they mentioned something about how they've got their own rules that has worked in the past.
There will be 3 changes to the top 8 with a minimum of 2. One team that missed the top 8 will climb into the top 4. In Rule 3, teams that finish 5th to 8th are more likely to drop out than teams that finish 1st to 4th. And that was their rule. So they just had the 3. So Hawthorn 1st, Brisbane 2nd, Fremantle 3rd, Geelong 4th. If we compare those top 4 to ours,
it's not too far off.
Sydney
is obviously not there for you.
Yeah, the only team I had there was Brisbane.
Did
That's
I
the
have
only
all
team.
of those? No, I didn't have all those teams.
You
Hawthorn
had
up
all
for
those
3.
teams.
Yeah, I had. So my top 4 isn't the same, but has all the same teams.
Yeah.
Hawthorn
very
at 1
interesting.
is insane to me.
Yeah, way too much.
I think Hawthorn, that is a lot of expectation for Hawthorn. Brisbane at 2 makes sense, understandable. Fremantle, I said they were interchangeable with Hawthorn at 3.
I still think that's a bit
Geelong
too
at 4,
far.
I can see making sense. I can also agree with Fremantle at 3 being a bit too far. Collingwood at 5 is exactly where I had them.
It makes sense as well.
Sydney, I had GWS, but I also said they were interchangeable because I had Sydney at 7.
I
the
think
Dogs, with the way their season has started, before a game has even been played, they are not top 8. It's not happening.
My God, are
and
they
I've
not?
said my piece about Gold Coast.
Gold Coast again just doesn't go together. And then, I mean, their bottom 10, whatever. Richmond, understandable. West Coast, understandable. North, could very easily see them finishing there. St Kilda, yes. Essendon, yes. Melbourne, yes. Port's
the first
lower.
one that makes me go, okay, that's a bit strange.
Yeah. Same with Adelaide. Honestly, I see them being really good this year. Carlton, 10. I still think it's a bit low, but obviously
I had Carlton 11, but then again, I had North 10.
Yeah, so you're
So
a fucking idiot.
maybe Carlton, that makes more sense.
GWS 9, 100% could see. So there's not too many outlanders. It's just there's some that you just question why.
Yeah,
It's not the worst thing.
It's a
not the worst
predicted
thing.
ladder with a good reasoning behind a lot of it, and a
Yeah.
lot of previous, I guess, data to back it up. But yeah, there's some that scratch your head. I'm just more sad that we're both fans of bottom 4 teams, it looks like.
So what they've
this
done
season.
is...
We're going to have a very fucking depressing podcast. This is what this
sure.
looks like. And we'll just have producer Ethan screaming in the background, let's fucking go, I won this weekend.
I think you could make 2 changes to this. Brisbane 1, Hawthorn 2 as one change.
Yep.
And then Fremantle and Collingwood switch. And I think you could very easily see that happening.
Get the Dogs out of there.
Oh, yeah, Dogs do.
Get the Dogs out
dogs
of there.
with
GWS.
Adelaide. Dogs with Adelaide.
GWS will take that.
Nah, Dogs with Adelaide. Switch the 2.
All right, then GWS
straight for
8, Adelaide 7, and I think that makes more sense. Maybe Carlton 9. I don't know, just push the Dogs down. I'm sorry, Dogs fans. My mum's a Dogs fan, and she was fucking depressed when she heard about my... Bont, of course, but when she heard about how low I was on them, she's like, why the fuck did you say that?
Yeah.
Yeah, so surprisingly similar in some ways to ours. I'm glad that my St Kilda pick doesn't seem so outrageous now. My North one, of course, was going to look outrageous. I think
outrageous
if
all year.
Melbourne could surprise potentially, although 13
Kind of.
feels
Familiar.
70 to 80% confirmed to me. I feel like that's about right, but they could burst out because they have the talent to do so.
Yeah. It's just a very interesting thing to compare.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I wanted to do this comparison, because I think looking at how they've put data into it and kind of going off of our little, I wouldn't say it's a rush job, but at the same time, we put a bit of thought into it and just put it straight to paper.
Yeah.
To see that we've got some somewhat similar results is interesting.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, this is going to be an interesting new topic.
Oh, new topic! I love new topics!
we have our first ever recurring segment starting today.
Yes!
At the moment, it's got a horrible name.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
But it's called Behm's Tribunal Task.
I'm so glad you went by Bemmy.
Yeah, well.
It makes me happy.
So what this is going to be is every week before the tribunal and after the MRO decisions, I'm going to talk about what's happened. Obviously, now I can talk about 2 weeks of preseason games where there were, 3 occurrences? But the main one that I want to talk about is players pushing other players into a contest.
Yep.
Happened 3 times over the course of the 2 weeks. First one was Ruben Jinbi properly pushing Lawler into a contest and him fracturing his jaw. That got wiped and no suspension was given. The other one was Brandon Starcevich getting pushed into a contest and getting concussed. That also wasn't given anything. And then the most recent one was Mitch Owens getting pushed into a contest and injuring his AC joint. Thankfully, there was no surgery required, and he could be touch and go for round 1. We see one happen. That's okay. It can happen sometimes. Players obviously aren't match ready yet, which is why we've got preseason games. But to push someone into a contest and for them to fracture their jaw, that's got to be some sort of reprimand for your actions.
Yeah.
It is not a footy act, and so it should then not be part of our game. The best way to not make it a part of our game is to give player a consequence to their actions. So what you're going to have to do is suspend them. A fine is going to do fucking nothing when they're earning $400,000 a week as a minimum.
400,000 a week.
Average.
A week.
I mean, a year. We're not in
I mean,
UK or
yeah, your
America.
point is right in the fact that it means nothing, but fuck me.
Yeah, okay.
That's a lot, man.
I've had a few
but-
slip of the tongues today.
No,
Jesus.
that's all right. Look, I'm kind of trying to think of it in the sense of when it comes to that action, right? The push into the contest. That is interesting in the sense of, is it when they are out of the contest and they're pushing them into a contest?
So-
or is it in the contest one-on-one and they push them into, say, someone running into the contest?
I believe the Ruben Jinmi and Lawler one was when they were not in the contest and he got pushed into the contest. Same as the Owens one. He got pushed into the back and then he basically almost ran into, I think it was Bergman, and he basically protected his shoulder first. And that's how it happened. I can't remember the Starcevich one because it was a head knock and he got concussed. I don't remember exactly what happened.
Yeah, I bring it up because the first incident that I think of, and it was from a while back, is when, do you remember when Gary Ablett pushed Stefan Martin into Stephen May?
Yep.
And he got absolutely fucked. That is the first thing I think of where I think that action could be suspendable.
100%.
He pushed him into a very interesting, like into a very bad. Obviously, Stephen May was the one who made the action, but right, Gary Ablett kind of initiated the situation.
It's not
I don't
even
know,
that he
it's hard
initiated. He accelerated it, basically.
I get that.
What happens is you have 2 players, obviously tussling, bustling, whatever, and then you can have a separate pack. If it is a deliberate push where a player has actually pushed them into there without making a contest,
I
it's
think
not footy related. It's like doing something else completely where you have a sling tackle. That's not a footy act. It's a tackle, but you've made it worse. Tussling, bustling. It's a footy act, but you've made it worse by pushing them into the contest. We've now seen a huge whack down on sling tackles. If you do it now and just get it out the way, where you give them a 1 week or a 2 week suspension, they're not going to do it again because they now know that it's not acceptable. There's every chance that players are now going to start pushing in the back or pushing players into other contests when they know they're not going to get reprimanded for it.
I think there needs to be a kind of separation as to what is intentional and what is game, like proper, in-game contact, right? If your eyes are on the ball, right, and you misjudge a contest and you're pushing your opponent to try and get to that point and it results in them being injured, is that considered something that can be suspended for? Because I think there's a lot of situations with that rule, right? I think it can be very obvious, right? I think the Ruben Gimby one that I can remember felt a bit more obvious than any of the others, where he's clearly outside the contest. It's not going to land to him, but he pushes Lawler into him and he gets clobbered. That, to me, feels like one that could get a week suspension. And then you think of the league's crackdown on concussions. What does that mean for the Starcevich one? Because Starcevich obviously went down with a concussion. So what does that mean for the person who initiated that contact, right? Are they now held responsible? Right, and it's hard to mix and match this one. It feels like a very it's very early days for something like this, and they're going to have to work it out because it's been happening, from what I can tell, for quite some time.
Yeah.
And
100%.
it just feels like a really, really hard one to differentiate. Like, what is a non-football play in that with a push, and what is a football play?
It's obviously hard to differentiate, but they can't differentiate it for anything else.
Yeah. To me,
So
Gary Ablett, that example I brought up, is the example of a non-football play.
Yeah.
They're both running for it, and he just pushes him.
It's almost, a lot of it comes down to timing as well, because if you're pushing someone into it just before it happens, then you know that they're going to go into a contest as it's moving, which makes it harder to predict.
Yep.
If you're doing it just as the ball gets kicked, then chances are they'll be fine. So at the moment, I don't trust the AFL to do anything about it to fix it, which is also where a bit of the problem comes up. But that is Behmy's Tribunal Tasks, brought to you by Behmy.
We're waiting on a sponsor.
We are.
Please sponsor our bit, please. But no,
I'm not down on my knees
I
begging
like that
you.
discussion. I think that's something that can potentially be really important every week, especially considering the last few years have felt like there's always something that can be talked about, and maybe you've picked it out early. Who knows? But we'll go to our next bit, which we've got some early player award predictions.
Yay.
This one, we've decided
Very
to go
exciting.
top 3. And we've also got a single shout out for a most improved. Our the topics that we've got. So top 3 for Brownlow, Coleman,
Yay.
Rising Star, and like I mentioned, one most improved pick.
Yep.
I've gone biased with my most improved pick, but we'll find out where do we want to start. Do you want to start Rising Star, Coleman, Brownlow? Go, I guess, in order of importance.
Let's start with whatever's on the graphic first.
Yep.
So let's switch to
No,
the
that
graphic.
is fair. What has our first graphic got? We've got Rising Star. Okay, I've started off correctly. So, my Rising Star pick is Levi Ashcroft. I think he's going into a beautiful situation. It'll be tough for him to crack the team, and that's probably the one thing that makes me think, I don't know. But honestly, Rising Star is hard to predict because, Brain wants to just go 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
I mean, not this year because 3 was Jagger Smith, and unfortunately he'll be out. But Sam Lawler, right?
Lawler.
I got that right. I think with his injury being minimal, he's going to have the best opportunity. So I think if there's any swap I'd have right now, it's him to either second or third, or first, sorry. Isaac Kako is kind of my surprise because he's also in another really good situation.
Yeah.
I
got
think
every opportunity at his
he's
feet.
shown some signs in preseason too. He's going to get himself some playing time, which is always great. And surprising maybe to a few, I've got no one outside of rookies. So everyone here is playing their first season. I know that obviously your Rising Star isn't just for first season players.
As we saw last year. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if there's any second year players that you can think of.
Hugo Garcia, obviously, as a Saints fan, comes to mind.
Yeah.
Not too many others, I don't think, would be able to.
I'm trying to think, maybe does McKercher step up?
Did he play less than 10 games last year?
I have no clue.
So that's the problem. Some didn't actually play enough games.
Yeah.
Zane Dersmer, I think, is available. Nate Caddy is available. So
Nate Caddy could be a shout. I think Nate Caddy will be needed. I think those Essendon boys are really set for a good season.
Yeah.
So, but I've gone with Kako because he's shown some really good signs, and I wanted to stick with the new guys. I wanted to make it exciting. But Levi Ashcroft is my pick.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. I have a very different Rising Star group.
I like that.
I think Sid Draper, I talked about him during my Adelaide prediction.
Yep.
I think there's every chance he could become the third best midfielder in this Adelaide team by the end of the year. He has got speed, he's got damage, he's just got that energy about him. And I think, given I've got Adelaide finishing in the top 8 as well, that gives him every chance to be able to be part of like the Geelong moving up the ladder, where they just get that extra bonus.
Yep.
I think Finn O finishing second. Again, it's similar to the Ashcroft, where it's how much time does he get in the midfield to be able to do some really good stuff, because you've got a lot of talent there already.
Yep.
But I think he's got the talent to be able to play elsewhere, where it's almost like a grind Myers. He can push up from the forward line into the midfield and help whoever to be able to break forward as well.
That's kind of how Sheasel got his, isn't it? He played a lot off the halfback. Where did my graphic go? There it is. Yeah, no, that's how Sheasel got it. He got a lot of disposals, playing off that halfback line in a North team that couldn't get it out. So like he was very good, and we all know how good he is. But I mean, his circumstance very much helped him out, and that may be the case for Finn. Sid Draper I like as well. Yeah. I think that could be if he slots himself in nicely in that Adelaide team and gets himself that final or one of those midfield spots, then for sure, man.
And the reason I had Harvey Langford third is because he's been fantastic in pre-season. He's looked really good on the training ground. But it's also, we could very easily see Oliver or Petrarca having something where they don't necessarily get back to their form. And maybe Melbourne go towards a Harvey Langford, given how good he's looked in the preseason, and he could get some serious opportunity. He won't have to do too much because you still got Viney, you got Trent Rivers playing a little bit in the midfield. You obviously got Petrarca and Oliver and stuff there. I just think he'll have such a low burden to be able to perform just at a really high level, and I think he's going to be really, really good for Melbourne in the future.
Yeah, I like those picks. Those are really nice ones. Next up,
I think we got Coleman next up.
I think it's Coleman next.
Yep.
Come on, producer Ethan. There you go, Coleman.
Yeah,
it is
okay.
Coleman. So
Whoa!
I told you it'd surprise you. So
Okay,
I've got...
for those who don't know, last night we went on a call and we sort of discussed a little bit. I knew he had Nick Larkey first. I very easily would have guessed Jesse Hogan second, given how good he was last year. Eric Hipwood! Eric Hipwood!
Well, we both agreed this is a perfect
Logan
year
Morris
for it
is
to
better
happen.
than him.
Cool, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I clearly disagree, but
This is crazy.
like Eric Hipwood, I told you, and we said it before, this is going to be a great year. He's got so much talent that's going to feed him the ball, right?
Yeah.
And even the small guys are guys that you can't leave to one-on-ones. Can you trust teams to leave Charlie Cameron in a one-on-one?
No, but you don't ever leave Charlie Cameron in a one-on-one.
Exactly. So who does that open up?
You know, he had that last year where you couldn't leave Joe Danaher in a one-on-one. He still couldn't do it very well.
Yeah, but at the same time, he is now the main target.
Yeah, he is.
He's the
which
main
also means he's
target.
going to get the best defender.
I understand that. I'm very aware of that. But I think Hipwood is absolutely capable of doing so. He's had some great moments. My hope with this pick is that he is going to have a great season and put it all together. I think Brisbane absolutely need it. But yeah, I do believe with the fact that Joe Danaher being gone, with Eric Hipwood now being the main target, it's going to help him out a lot more. It's going to give him more opportunity. And with the danger around him, I think maybe you could point out that Joe Danaher wasn't winning Coleman's with the fact that...
But on that, I do have a question. Quick fire.
Yeah.
Do you see him kicking 58 goals like Joe did last year?
58?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not.
So that's what he finished last year, and I don't think he finished top 3.
No, that's fair. That's a good point out. But I'd love him to prove me wrong, and I think this year could be prime for that.
Okay. Jesse Hogan.
I don't need to explain Nick Larkey. That's...
Bias.
No, that's facts.
Bias.
And then Jesse Hogan, I reckon, can absolutely pull it off. I think we mentioned at some point 40% on one-on-ones.
I think that was off camera, but...
Yeah, it was.
We might see in the Corns and Kingies burning questions, GWS's discussion was on Jesse Hogan.
Yeah.
But my Coleman medal is Charlie Kono winning his third medal.
What a boring answer.
It's a very boring answer, but I don't.
But
see,
it's a potential factor.
I don't see others really doing it. That's sort of the problem. Ben King finishing second. He was really, really strong in Gold Coast 10 last year. He doesn't do anything except kick goals.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like he might provide 5 goal assists for the entire year, similar to Jake Waterman. But I just see Gold Coast being really good. He's got better ball movers now to be able to find him in better situations. And then Nick Larkey third. You guys just give him more opportunity this year, similar to 2023 where he finished third.
I was going to say he's finished third before, and it was an incredible year. I think
Curnow and
from
Walker
what I can tell and what I remember, any other year, and he would have been Coleman medalist.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was literally just because those two had fantastic years in terms of goal kicking that he finished third.
Yeah, so that sort of that area. I think Curnow probably gets just around 70, maybe as a max. So it's probably not going to be one of the best races, I don't think. I think it'll be very interesting. I think all of them could miss a couple games as well.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. But I think it's time to now move on.
Okay, so now we have got ourselves our Brownlows, and before we do that, how long is Errol Gordon out for? How long is
3 months.
Fuck.
Oh, God.
Thank
where
God
do
he's
you
not
have it?
one. Thank God he's not one.
Yeah,
But
I had him finishing first in my original one.
yeah, no.
And then I removed
have
him.
him finishing second.
Okay.
I don't know why I put Errol there. Because I think the news was out already about his
Yeah, it
about
would've
his
been.
injury. I just fully forgot about it. So moved Dacos up to second, and I'd been thinking Lockie Neal,
Maybe.
maybe
Given
Lockie
you've got
Neal.
them first, I could definitely say
Paddy Cripps is always a threat.
Bontempelli.
No, not Bont. Bont's injury.
As
So
well.
same for Errol Gordon.
Yeah. Noah Anderson. Oh, you don't trust Gold Coast.
No.
Fair enough.
But Caleb Sarong, I
Yeah.
mentioned, I think in the ladder predictions, high rise
did.
up. He has consistently been going up and up. And I think this year, with Fremantle's rise, he will be the one to rise to the top and take out the Brownlow medal. I think, look, he's got youth on his side too. So even if he doesn't do it this year, he's got plenty of years
Yeah.
to do it. Same with Errol. So even though he's not going to get it this year, he's got plenty of chances to.
Same with Dacos.
Same with Dacos, so it's a clear theme of young
Yeah.
players kind of taking the mantle now. So you can see no Cripps, no Neal, kind of, that means that we're entering, I guess, a new age. But
Yeah.
some ones I'd like to point out as, I guess, honourable mentions, Joe Newcomb.
Mm-hmm.
I think Newcomb could take over. He's shown plenty of
Yeah.
opportunities to do so, and with the team being as good as they are, Newcomb could absolutely do so. And that's the only other one that I can think of off the top of my head. Jason Horn-Francis, I think you mentioned potential.
Yeah.
He's got potential, unfortunately.
I see Rose polling really well early without Butters,
Yep.
but if we move to mine, I still don't have him in my top 3.
That's fair.
Have to appease the cameraman.
Fuck
Have to appease him.
off. Just piss
We
off.
have Dacos first and third, and Sarong third and first.
Yeah. That's an interesting
I
little
think
tidbit.
this is the year Dacos. Obviously, Collingwood are finishing second. He stays healthy, he wins it. I think it's just pretty much that simple. He's now got. We know he gets votes. He got 38 last year. We know he gets votes. We're not going to get a Cripps 45
Yeah.
unless Dacos does it himself.
We'll be able to tell if he gets a 45,
Yeah.
I reckon. No one could tell Paddy Cripps has just gotten a 45 Brownlow season.
People were thinking like
if
he
it's
could be
Dacos,
28, 28.
they'll be telling us he's won it by round 18.
Yeah. Sarong third, obviously. Fremantle going to be really good. I have them finishing 9th, so he doesn't actually help them getting to the 8. But I still
To be
think
fair, Cripps got it.
Cripps got it when they were 9th, and so did Nat 5 in 2019. And then second, Noah Anderson. I think he pairs it together. Got the captaincy this year. Gold Coast, I think, are going to be really good, which is leaning into it.
I think that, and he's had good seasons before as well.
He polled
in
really,
Brownlows.
really
Yep.
well last year. So I just see him improving on the back of that. But now, this is actually going to be my favourite part of the segment, the entire podcast.
Yeah.
Where we get to talk about the most improved player we see for the entire year. I know the exact 2 players he chose.
I've only put one here, but you know exactly who it is.
I know exactly who it is.
You know exactly who it is.
Let's
Ethan,
just rip the
Ethan, just
Band-Aid
put
off.
it up. Just
It's
put
Tom
it up.
Powell.
It's Tom Powell.
It's Tom Powell. It's Tom Powell.
So everything I've heard, and with proven result, is that this man has had the fucking off season of a lifetime. Is all I can consider it. He has kind of surprised me in how he's burst into this midfield group, and I've always known he's really slick with his hands and can find players at any point. But he's put something. He's been eating his wheat bixes, I think, is the best way we can put it.
Wheat Bix Kid.
That smile shows a wheat bix kid, and I
Those
think he's.
eyes look like a Wheat Bix Kid.
I think he's primed for a really, really good season.
Yeah, for sure. I think
And like I said, it is a bit of a biased pick, but like,
he's probably one of the least talked about really solid players in the AFL.
yeah,
I think he was pretty good last year.
he's got a role at any club. I reckon
Yeah.
it just depends how important.
He's kind of like the Willem Drew of North Melbourne.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, that's fair.
But now moving on to mine, I think this guy's incredible.
Yeah, you've talked about him.
I love this guy so much.
Yep.
I think Adelaide really struggled last year without him in their team because he got injured with a shoulder injury, if I'm not correct, towards the back end of last year. But they were fantastic with him on the counter. And he's going to have another year developing his skills because they were a bit off sometimes last year. But he's a great height. He's like 193, 194 centimeters. He's got that James Sicily build. He's got a great left foot kick. It's really, really penetrating. And I just see him absolutely breaking out and genuinely pushing for all Australian Smoky this year. Because if Adelaide do make the finals, he's going to be absolutely crucial to their success. Brodie Smith, Wayne Miller, they're both on the older side. Isaac Cumming probably takes one of their spots as a halfback flanker, if not a winger.
Yeah.
And I just see the opportunity opening up for him. They don't have anyone else to really do it. And I see Mitch Hinge does it a bit as well, but he's like 190 anyway. And he probably plays a bit more on the wing. Josh Worrell is a genuine interceptor, and I think he's fantastic. I love this kid. I would love him anywhere else but Adelaide, specifically St Kilda. And I think you guys, as North Melbourne, should target him because he'd fit right alongside where you guys need him.
Yeah.
He is going to be a superstar.
That's a big call.
Genuinely. This
That's a
kid's
massive
going to
call.
be insanely good.
All right, let's move on, though. We are getting quite far into this one. We're going to go with a quick fire opening round predictions. We had just been told behind the desk that we are not getting... Oh, very nice. Very nice. That is quick. That is quick work.
That's what we like to
We
see.
do not have Lions versus Cats, and we do not have Suns versus Bombers due to the cyclone happening over there. So hopefully, if there are any viewers from over there, we're wishing you the best of health and hope everything is okay.
Yes.
But we will
houses
be
to
getting
damage.
Swans versus Hawks and Giants versus Pies confirmed.
Yep.
They are postponed, so I don't know whether it's going to be for...
It'll be whenever they have their buys because I'd assume they'd be paired.
So
they will be now.
The Lions Cats is round 3 and
Yep.
Suns Bombers is postponed indefinitely. So that'll be
Ooh, that must mean
a
their
mid-season
buys
buy
aren't aligned.
potentially.
Yeah. They would probably rearrange something in the AFL maybe.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
it'll,
at least we
it'll
know. At
mean
least we
other
know
games
one of
are
them.
having to change.
We'll
yeah.
just go with these two here: Swans versus Hawks, Giants versus Pies. Who do you reckon's? I think you mentioned before. Who's winning?
Yeah.
Swans v Hawks.
I think Hawthorn will probably struggle early on a little bit. Obviously, it's going to take time because they got some additions, whereas the Swans didn't. They've got that consistency. I just think they'll really want to prove something Sydney earlier in the season. So I have the Swans winning by 17.
I think it's going to be a very close one. I think the talent on the Swans is there for sure. We all know
Yep.
that, but like. I think the Hawks are going to take it in a very, very close one. It is at the SCG, so we can take that into consideration. Hometown support, Swans usually do pretty well there, but I think the Hawks have a habit of pinching them, and I think they're going to take it by 3.
Okay, very interesting. Giants Pies, a rematch of last year's opening game. I'm pretty sure of opening round.
Yeah, I know they played opening round. Giants took it pretty well, didn't they?
Giants absolutely whacked them.
Yeah.
I have the reverse happening. I have Collingwood beating them. Not necessarily heftily, but probably around the 25-30 margin. I think Collingwood are going to start the season really, really strong. I also don't rate GWS very highly. I think they could sorely miss not having some of those key plays from last year where there's going to be no stringer. Hogan might take a little bit to get into the season like he did last year because he wasn't great like in the first 4 or 5 rounds.
Yeah, he did pinch the common late, yeah.
You're going to have a defense that is going to take time to get used to potentially a new system because we haven't seen it work right at the tippity top because they've obviously failed in the last 2 years. I just have Collingwood really going to come out and make a noise for themselves early. And I think that GWS could be a little scared with it and the reverse order of last year's game happening.
Yeah, okay. I agree with you, though. I'm going Pies with this one. I think in a bit of a closer one than it was last time. Look, Andrew Stadium isn't the biggest home crowd advantage, but I think being in Sydney will help them out. But I think the Pies, with the amount of talent they've got and acquired over the off-season, I think this will be a good test for them.
Oh, yeah,
This will be a fantastic test.
It'll be interesting.
I think it'll be a lot closer than we expect.
I think it'll be interesting to see how their forward line goes up against this GWS back line.
Yeah, that's going to be a
I
great
think
battle.
it'll be very interesting.
Yeah. We'll finish it off there because we're running quite far. Next off, we've got a few of the burning questions that we saw
Yep.
on SEN through Corns and Kingy. They've got a few interesting ones here and there. I'll let you start
Yep.
if you've got yours lined up because I've got a couple that I want to mention.
Yep.
But go for it.
Well, first of all, Adelaide, Brisbane, 50 from Filthy. We talked about that. I don't think they'll get however many he said. I
50
said
for
about
Filth
40.
is, yeah.
We talked about the Danaher replacement with Eric Hippwood. I said, do you think you can get the 58 goals? You said no, so we talked about that one. Carlton, I talked about with the back line already being potentially a bit weak. And for Collingwood, I think this is a really important one. Does the gamble pay off?
Okay.
Because they've bought in. They're the oldest club in history.
Really?
Ever.
I mean, I guess it makes sense.
They're the most experienced.
It's just because
team
they're
in
kind of
history.
headlined by Nick Dacos, so you think they're young.
They've got so much experience around him. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of support. But if it doesn't go right, it could fall really, really quickly. It could be Dan Houston trade. They didn't give up as much as West Coast did, but it could be eerily similar to the Tim Kelly trade.
Yeah. So they better hope Dan Houston works.
If it goes wrong, that is.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Essendon, more confidence in Caddy Kako than Mackay Shield, 100%. I don't like Mackay or Shield, and I think Caddy and Kako are going to be brilliant.
Yeah, fucking Mackay.
Pretty obvious.
Can I... wait,
yeah.
so you're up to Essendon, yeah?
Just did Essendon, yeah.
Yeah, can I quickly do Gold Coast and GWS?
Go ahead.
Because I think these are the two strangest ones. I think I mentioned it when we were going through it last night. Gold Coast, is this the start of a dynasty?
Dynasty.
A dynasty, the dynasty
yep.
that you really want to catch on,
Yep.
so you can copyright that
It's
shit.
a dynasty. Trademarked.
I am really, really confused. Is it the start of a dynasty?
I think
Again, maybe it's because I have no trust in them, but you don't have me.
trust in them, but it's simply because the talent and what they've been allowed to get.
I have read through the start of it. They said they've got an easy draw. To start off. I haven't checked
Super
for
easy
sure,
draw,
but
super
from what I've
easy
heard, it's easy. They've got round 2 away against West Coast
It's
and
Essendon.
round 2 away against Melbourne.
It's Essendon.
comparing to their 2-9 away last year.
Essendon, Melbourne, West Coast, North Melbourne as their first 4 games.
They have to start off at least
It's
3-1.
4-0.
At least 3-1.
Yeah.
If they don't, then like I feel very, very right in my ways.
Yeah.
And then so they've got an easy draw. They've gotten so many high draft picks and so much talent around them now. If they have to be finals this year, that is my
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
The start of a dynasty is insane because it makes me think that they have to win a premiership within the next 3 years.
Jim called that. He said we got 80% of premiership list. You should have 100% now. You've had 2 years to be able to build it.
Yeah, I just think it's crazy. I think it's
100%.
crazy. And then GWS's is just funny. What if Jesse Hogan isn't Jesse? What if Jesse Hogan is just Jesse Hogan and not Jesse Carey? Comparing Jesse Hogan to Wayne Carey to me just seems
After
insane.
1 year.
Yeah.
Kingy went on to say he had 75 goals last year. He had 45.
77 goals, best and fairest All Australian Coleman.
Yeah. He had like 45 and 22 in the last 3 years. So it's basically saying if we don't get an insane version of Jesse Hogan, do GWS continue the same success? I actually kind of agree with him. Not to the same extent where he's fucking Jesse Carey, but more so the fact that if he kicks closer to 50 goals, where do they sit with their forward line? Because it could very easily change.
Yep. Any others that you want to point out?
Hawthorn handle the heat of being the AFL darlings. Do you see them as the AFL darlings?
Kind of.
Yeah, I agree. I think they might struggle a little bit, probably not to the extent that some do.
Yep.
Is a Max Holmes-led midfield premiership worthy? You said yes.
I said yes.
I said no. I just think that there's not necessarily the talent you expect. Melbourne, this is a very funny one, is falling in love again so easy. I love that one.
That
It's
is
such a good question because obviously Melbourne had the talking points where they were talking about love and how it's changed their off season. What if? again, their entire year's based off.
We've
of
talked about him a lot
Yeah.
about being a boom or bust, and if things
Yeah.
go well, if things don't, it's kind of looks to be what they think as well.
There's nothing really elsewhere that I can agree with.
I just
so
like
think we
the
can
I just
move
like
on
the
from-
dogs. It's basically just
Fuck
Kane
Luke
Corn
Beveridge.
saying, how do they get rid of Luke Beveridge
Yeah.
in a nice way?
Yep.
And then I don't have to say anything else. I love that. That's a great way. That's a great way to say nothing.
Yeah.
Realistically,
Yeah.
that's a great way to say nothing. All right. Next up, do you want to go through this one? This is
Yep.
this Demon CEO regarding
Yes.
the Cozzy Pickett situation because I found it really interesting reacting to it.
So was last week it came out that the Demon CEO basically said, we understand there have been trade rumours of Cozzy Pickett leaving, potentially to Fremantle. He's got 3 years left on his deal. We are demanding 3 first-round picks. Come and take him. So I just find it so interesting that a CEO of a club has come out and said, we have an asking price for a player who hasn't formally requested a trade to a team yet, but we're going to say this is exactly what you got to give up, and we're going to accept it no matter what.
Yeah, and when we were talking about it, I'm like, I do not remember in any sport, at least any sports that I follow, this ever really happening.
Nah,
where the
not
team,
one bit.
without really any official listing, says, hey guys, just to the public, what's up everyone? This guy's available.
It's just
we
like,
know this team wants him.
Hey,
Here's how you can get him.
this guy could be our
And then that
cornerstone of
tells-
our franchise.
But that's really, I like the move. I really like the idea of them just going out saying, hey, we know that there's rumblings. We hear it, right? If you want it, this is what you've got to do.
I understand where they're
sets
coming
the bar.
from.
It sets the bar.
I understand where you're coming from, but it's such a dumb move at the same time.
Because but at the same time, Fremantle now have to put up. Sure, they can discuss.
It could be West Coast. I could see West Coast doing it, honestly.
Yeah, I think it'll depend on how West Coast do this year.
I find it so
That'll
funny.
see whether Kelsey wants to go there.
We just talked about Melbourne saying we have all the love again, and then they just come out. The CEO has just come out
we
and
love
said,
you guys. By the way,
we
fuck
don't
off,
love
Cozzy.
you, Cozzy. I
We love
wonder
everyone.
why.
We love everyone but you. That's so good. I love it. That's
so
all.
dumb.
Yeah, I actually really like it.
so dumb.
All right.
Oh my god.
I think,
It literally says right here, we love Cozzy as a teammate.
but not as a person.
And he wants to go to Perth, then we're going to be okay. We love you, but we don't respect you. What is happening?
I love the move. I personally, from an entertainment point at least, I
so
love the
insane.
move. All right, we're going to start getting into a wrap up, but before
Yep,
we do so,
before we do.
we've got a bit of a call out to you guys. So we have thought of an idea, a really, really exciting idea in which we are going to bring up viewer call-ins. We want to see you guys both follow us and call in regards to a new segment we are calling Thanks, Basil.
Yep.
So we are going to have you guys call in. You must start off. Well, call in, maybe not. But respond to us and reply to us, whether it's through messages on Instagram. We have a TikTok as well. And, of course, YouTube. You can comment some takes. But we really want to get some voice notes. So Instagram is probably your best way of getting to us.
Yep.
We want to hear you guys give your hot takes, just about. So you must start off with Thanks, Basil. We will pick one at random
Yep.
and have a listen in. You guys will give us your hot take / opinion, and we want you to get as rowdy as possible. We want you to make this as entertaining as you possibly can. If you can make us laugh, that's even
Yep.
better. So please call in. Give us your hot takes. Give us your opinions, anything it may be, and we will bring it in. Just remember, you must start off with Thanks, Basil.
And also, because we want to be able to share the content, not just on the podcast, but in other areas as well, like
Yep.
YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels, keep it under a minute so we have a bit of time to react as well. Give us whatever you want. It could be a hot take. It could be an opinion on your team. It could be a reaction to a game where Essendon just got battered by 80 points and you really want to talk about it.
Imagine it's Saturday night, your team just got battered by 100 points. Give us your immediate reaction. We
Yeah.
want that shit. We want that.
We want so this is going to be a recurring thing every week. So we have some segments now that we're going to have every week. This is going to be one of them. And we're really excited to be able to get
We
some
really
of your
wanted,
good-
we
some of
had,
you
we
calling
almost
in.
had ones lined up as like an example. Almost did. Won't go further into that, but man, would that have been good. All right.
It would have been really funny too.
But yes, of course, follow us at Zero Access Footy on all the social medias you see up there. We thank you very much for listening into yet again another long episode. Hopefully it's been enjoyable for you guys once again. We finished off a few things that we had started in the previous week and gotten a few more extra things, but Footy's back, baby. We've got Footy's back, man. I'm so excited. 2 games it looks like. 2 games it'll be this week.
2 games.
So although it is a bit of a short stint into the
Footy's
footy
back.
season, Footy's back. Doesn't matter. We're watching them.
Boys are back.
Oh, Friday night. Friday night is going to be amazing. I can't wait to hear it all. Shut up.
Yes, Footy's back.
But nonetheless, I thank you guys so much for tuning in once again to episode 2 of Zero Access Footy. Thank you, Behm, once again for joining me within all of this.
Yada,
and
dasa.
I will hopefully see everyone back again. Of course, like I mentioned, follow us on all our socials and give us your rage moments. For thanks, Basil.
Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, beautiful. We appreciate you guys very much. I'll see you all in the next one.
Yeah.
Cheers, guys. Peace.